Hello and welcome to an exclusive hour-long programme with me, Alex Belfield, talking to a genius and a legend and the one and only Des O'Connor. How are you?
I don't know what to say after that. I mean, what can I say? I can't wait to hear what I'm going to say.
It's nice meeting you after all these years because basically I grew up watching you on TV and everybody has because you've been doing it forever.
I think just before John Logie Baird invented it. It's been a long while. I won't joke and say we wore green makeup in those days. No, but and the first show I did was in 1953 and The Odd Thing, and I did a series in 58 called Spot the Tune, and then got my first TV series in 63. And you've been stuck with me every year since for 46 years. I think television is a microscope, and what you do on there, the viewers can see. They're very discerning, and they can see what's genuine, what's phony. This guy is relaxed, he's enjoying it, or he's pretending to be. I think it all shows up, so you just have to be yourself.
You've always got a twinkle in your eye. That's what I notice about you, whether it's on Countdown or on your chat shows. You seem to enjoy it, and that's infectious.
Well, that's the secret, you see, Alex. If you're not enjoying it, how can you expect them to be enjoying it if you're not? I know you could be the greatest actor in the world, but it would come through as being phony. Though I used to get, not told off, but you say, oh, you do laugh a lot on that couch when we were interviewing all the comics. But I was genuinely, I mean, I didn't say, what are you going to say? There was a time, I have to be honest, say, especially when the American comedians were coming over, we would vet their material and say, well, that won't work, that might work. Yeah, talk about that. But I found later, after about a few years, because it ran for 27 years, but the first few years, I said, no, I don't want to know. If you want to talk to Neil Shan and ask his advice, just let it happen in front of the cameras, which he did. And people watched it. And the lovely thing, Alex, is it was for right across the family, right of them. It could be Granny, it could be the kids, and they all got something in that programme. Pop stars, actors, comedians. Nice mix.
I think you're also lucky because you had the good years of show business. It seems to me if you were doing it today, there wouldn't be the same calibre of guests. Well,
that's true. That's right. And I looking back now, I see it, especially now, I see it as the golden era of television, because right through the 70s, 80s, there's all that talent, and there's still the people that were left over from that had learnt their trade in the theatre, which is a big secret. You might think they are two different genres, but they're not. If you can appeal to a packed house in a theatre, you should be able to do it on television by winding it all back a bit, not pushing, not trying, just being relaxed and enjoying it. And I think as we said just now, it comes through. People can see.
I was talking to my auntie earlier and I said, I'm going to Des O'Connor's today to do this interview. She said, I used to serve him when he used to come and perform at Butlins.
Did you really? What, in Filey, up at Filey?
No, at Skegness.
Oh, was it Skegness? Oh, dearie me. Well, there you go. So give her my best wishes.
Well, she said you were a great tipper, and that got me thinking as well, because you've got to be careful when you're famous, haven't you, that you don't upset anybody, because those stories get passed on.
Well, I wouldn't tip. And, I've never been flash with money, and I've never been tight either. I just think if someone's good and nice and fair, don't do you any harm just to leave a few bob or quid, whatever it is, And I do think the old adage of be nice to people on the way up and all that stuff, I never ever thought about that. I just come from a family where you were polite and you were friendly and enjoyed getting paid for doing something you like doing,
Is it nice today being here and still being current and able to pick and choose what you're doing, and when people want you on, you can go?
Yeah, I mean, for instance, I'd found myself over the last few years, 2 or 3 years ago, I was watching that Al Murray, and I thought, that guy's clever. That's an act he's putting on there. You speak to him, he's a very well-educated, well-spoken guy, but he made me laugh, and he can think quick. I have one little bit about him. I said, what do you have to swear for, Al? That's just he and me, because I have this thing and I don't believe you need to swear. But so I went on there and it was great. And it's what your point you were saying, to be able to choose what you want to do rather than go on anything just to be on the TV. No, I don't need that anymore. And having a little bit of being able to select, it's nice. It is very, very nice. And it's nice to get the invites.
All right, we're going to play music from your new album today. You've got this new album out called Inspired, which for me is like Diana Krall and Michael Bublé, those kind of artists that just make you go, it's warm and cuddly, and I love that type of music.
Well, I'm glad you like that album, because what you just said is what we set out to do, is to make it feel warm and a little hints of the past, and it's for romantic fools like you, Mr. Belfield. I said, Alan, why don't we try and write those songs, the great quality songs. So he looked at me with a really weird look. I said, you and I dragged him to the piano and bit by bit got him to, kick around a few notes. We did it together. And suddenly we had a melody, and I said, how about this? I've got an idea for a title. And bit by bit, And we found it took us, we didn't rush it, over 18 months. We'd written 20 songs, of which 18 are on there. And if Eric Morecambe was here now, even Eric Morecambe would buy this one. No, I actually think it is, as I say, it's romantic, but there's a nice little mix of swing in there as well. A little bit of the it's a big band, and there's not a synthesizer on that album. It's all real instruments and the cream of the crop of musicians in the country. So hopefully it'll do very well.
What's the best track on it then?
There's a track on there I like. Well, they're all good. I mean, some of his writing on Autumn Breeze, the string writing, and that would win an award by itself. It was the best string score ever. But there's a track on there called On a Night Like This, which I particularly like because it's romantic. It's really of that era of the Great American Songbook.
We're back on your favourite local radio station. We're home with Des O'Connor today. What are you doing letting riff-raff like me in your house?
What am I doing having the pleasure of having riff-raff like you in my house? Well, what we try and do when you do something in this business, let's not hide behind it. You've got to promote it. It's no good you having a lovely album and it's on your shelf and nobody else's. And I'm not embarrassed. In fact, people used to say to me, how'd you get Barbara Streisand on your programme? Because she'd never done a TV show in front of an audience. I said, well, she just happened to have directed and produced, which means putting up the money for a film called, I think it was called The Mirror Has Two Faces. And I said, I can't feel any guilt bringing her all the way from America, and she did it for practically nothing in terms of fee, because she knew the reward would be that millions of people would know about her movie. That's what we're doing here. I don't feel too bad about promoting things. I'm quite happy, and especially when they're good quality stuff. Now listen, we've got a lot to get to, so we must stop chit-chatting because we've got to talk about your life and your career. What were you like as a child? Adorable. I couldn't walk till I was 7. And I had calipers on the legs, but after that, my mum, but then all mums say this, she knew, she said, I know he's going to be a star and all that stuff, but I guess had Britain's Got Talent been around now, she would have been one of those mums that might have tried to say, well, you better go in it, but that's another story, we could talk about that some other time. But no, I don't know, I wasn't, because of the handicap and not being able to walk, and because it was the war started, and I was, a lot of that was. I didn't really have much education until I was about 11, and then I was evacuated to Northampton town, and from being literally bottom of the bottom class, I ended up being second in the top class 3 years later because I wanted to learn. I knew I'd missed out. And I knew I'd missed out physically because I couldn't walk. And I knew because I'd spent half the time in the hospitals and in the air raid shelters, I didn't have much of an education. So I just wanted to learn. And the other kids used to think I was crackers. I used to want more lessons. But that's the only way. Read, learn, So I don't know, I think fairly normal kid, but certainly coming from a family with a lot of love and a lot of warmth. I know, again, that sounds corny, but it's real. It's interesting as well how you turned your adversity into something positive. A lot of people have become down and negative about it and turned that into some reason to be bitter. You've never ever been like that, have you? Well, no, because when you got my dad, on my birth certificate, it says scavenger for my father's occupation, scavenger. I'm the son of a scavenger, and I'm also the son of a child lady. So when your dad's a dustman and your mum's a child lady, anything from then on, we didn't have a house, we rented room, and then the rooms were renting eventually were hit with a bomb, and you're left with a pile of rubble. There's not much you can do but laugh at it and say, well, it can only get better. And if you've got the attitude to, whatever I'm living in a nice home and I've got a nice car now and all that. But even when times were rough prior, in the early days of show business, I was enjoying every minute of it. I have said, and I mean it, I've not done a day's work, W-O-R-K, not a day's work, since I came into show business. There's days of effort and a little stress that runs with it, but you learn to deal with that, and it's so enjoyable. The only other job I had was in a shoe factory, and show business is better. And if you don't mind me saying, you seem to have the same illness as Bob Monkhouse and Ken Dodd. You come alive when you're on stage. You just want to show off. Well, it may be showing off. It may be. Because I'm fairly quiet. I think when I go out in the evening, people think, he's going to be all jokey. I mean, you can switch it on. And when Jodie's had a few, my wife, when she had a few American and Australian friends over to come out for dinner one day, she said, well, you were doing a performance there practically. I said, no, I was just trying to entertain and make them all relax. But I think on stage, there is a feeling of wanting, I can't say to be loved, but I have a theory about show business. affection lasts much longer than admiration, much longer. And that came home with a bang to me years ago in Vegas when I went on one evening to see the dinner show with Sammy Davis Jr. That was about 7:45, I think that went on. Then I went to see the Late Show with Dean Martin, which is about 11 o'clock. And I just thought Sammy Davis was sensational. What a talent. He could do everything. Then I went to see Dean Martin, who could hardly walk on the stage. Well, he could. He was the kid. He was drunk. And I just practically fell in love with the guy. There was such warmth. There was such a feeling, I wouldn't mind sitting down with that guy and just having a laugh and chatting. Whereas with Sammy, I might have been almost a little bit in awe of him. Mind you, having said that, there's a picture there of he and I on stage. I'll show you. Well, we can't show you that. It's not TV, folks, but trust me, it's there. And so I think that admiration is very important. And I guess I wanted to do that with every audience you ever walk out to. This is not the same audience as last night or the one you'll get tomorrow. This is these people now who've paid, they've got on a bus or a bike or they've walked or the car to come and see you, and you should be better than you are on TV and you should enjoy it. And that, and if you've got the good health to walk out there and do it, that's something else to be thankful for.
Have you ever had a crisis of confidence when you've wondered, am I good enough for this? Because you were the biggest star of TV for many, many years, let's face it, and you'd got all these stars coming on your show. Did you ever wonder why you were there?
I don't think you can analyse it. You might. I used to know at the back of my head, and I'd learnt from other, giants of the business like Jack Benny and Bob Hope and people, and I always asked their advice when I met them and taught them. And, Jack Benny would say to me, just enjoy it, just relax, It's not brain surgery you're doing. You're not saving people's lives, but you're helping people. Just go out and enjoy. You're in a privileged position. And I've enjoyed, I say again, I've been well paid, have a nice home, for doing something I would, don't tell anybody, would do for nothing. I was only joking there, folks. No, but you do it because you love it. And the actual surgeon does get a standing ovation, and the nurses and doctors don't get any of this, and they certainly deserve their round of applause. But no, I'm very lucky guy, and I've enjoyed it every step of the way.
All right, we'll take another piece of music, and then we'll come back with more from Des O'Connor. We're back on your favourite local radio station. It's Alex Belfield talking to Des O'Connor today. We've got to the bit then where you'd moved to Northampton. When was the point where somebody said, he's a bit funny or a bit different?
I don't know whether anybody said it to me. I sort of said it to myself because I found that I could make people laugh. I didn't know why. I didn't know quite why they were laughing. But I remember in the shoe factory when I worked in, they put me in I had got my own secretary, and I had to go down to the typing pool, and there'd be 18 very attractive young ladies all banging away on a typewriter. I just get them giggling, and I just come out thinking, hey, that's good. I made them laugh. I didn't know why, but I was happy about that. And it wasn't flash or just egotistical. I just felt comfortable that I could make people laugh. And then I would go on the coach trips down to Southend with the gang, and again they would all be expecting me to make them laugh, and you kind of rose to that. So then when I went into the Air Force, I found again I was making people laugh, and I was ordered into a talent contest there by the CO. And then I went to Butlins and I won a talent contest. Then I thought, I wonder if I really love doing this. I just wonder if I could do it as a professional. And so I went and got myself a job at Butlins. That's another long story, but I got in. And then from Butlins, some people saw me, and I started at the Palace Theatre in Newcastle in 1953. So it just happened. Maybe I kind of planned it along the way, because I do believe in I don't believe that opportunity knocks. I think you have to go and drag it in. You just say, go on, let's make something happen.
Do you think you've either got it or you ain't? You can't be trained to be you, can you?
Well, if we're talking about TV hosts, I think you've got to be relaxed, and the people sitting opposite you have got to know you're relaxed, and they've got to know he knows what he's saying. So everybody can relax. And the moment the guest relaxes, then it will start to happen, and I'll tell you much more than maybe they even intended to tell you. But the most important thing of all, I find, the ingredient that makes a conversation, not an interview, a conversation, what makes that work is the sound of laughter. When they hear the sound. And when we were doing Des and Mel, I don't know anyone, well, they probably wouldn't know, so it was my own little technique. I would go towards them before they did. I didn't wait for them to come and sit down. I would go towards them, and as we were walking to sit around, and say, well, where did you get those boots from? Oh my goodness me. Did you come on a motorbike or whatever, silly nonsense? And they would have a giggle, and they forgot they were being interviewed, that suddenly they were chipping in and they'd heard the sound of life. So you do learn little things like that. And I think that's vitally important. That's what gets all the other guests to come back, and let them talk. Like you're doing now, you're listening, and you're not sort of interrupting. When I've stopped, I've stopped, and then you stop. And I think that's also important. And to be a host, you've got to make the guests look good. You could be there tomorrow or next week. They won't. Well, not regularly, but you can.
And that's what's interesting about somebody like you. I mean, you've gone through 3 or 4 generations of show business and you're still here. That's interesting today because it seems like your time frame is shorter if you're in show business in 2009.
Yeah, well, I won't mention who. There were a few people. Someone was a giant star a few years back. And I wasn't being in any way, it wasn't envy or anything. I just, Halley's Comet is the brightest star in the sky, but it's not there long. So you can burn yourself out. So this is another cliche. It is a marathon. I've never seen it as a sprint. And I wanted to have been in it in a long while. And I might be yet. And so I don't know. I don't know what to say really, other than just enjoy it. Just take your time. Don't rush it, because they can sense what's going on out there. The viewers and the audience. I think it's called rapport. They either relax with you or they don't. Fortunately, with me, they do.
I suppose nothing good was made in a rush other than ourselves, really.
Oh, well, I don't want to go into that right now. I've got a 4-year-old son. Could you see this house? Everywhere you look, there's a set of drums over there. There are toys over there. And all my little things have been pushed aside. So I'm very lucky to suddenly have I know I'm changing the subject, but suddenly have a boy in my life after 4 daughters. I've got 4 daughters, one who's older than me. So I'm very lucky.
All right, Des, we're going to come back next and talk about your family and your home and your life today. And I'm going to ask you some advice about, can you laugh women into bed? We'll do it next. We're back with Des O'Connor. Thanks for talking to us today, because you're a huge, great, big, whopping star. Did you know that?
No, I don't know about that, but let's say I've been around a while.
Does it ever become normal when you walk in a restaurant and the staff know who you are before you sit down, or you walk in a studio and everybody knows you before you say your name? It's an odd feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, I once described it as living in a world of no strangers, but sometimes most of the time it's fantastic. I remember once driving out from Manchester and the car ran out of petrol, and I was on a side road. Well, I'd come off the road because I thought, there's 30 miles to the next petrol station. I've just been told that. Maybe there's a little place open. I'll just come off. And suddenly, as I'm going down this little country lane, it went, and it's now run out of petrol. And it ran into there was a garage on there. I thought, at least I can park it somewhere. No, it's not stuck in the middle of the road, which was narrow. And I stopped there and I thought, well, maybe there's somebody living here. So I started to throw little stones up at the window. Well, who's that down there? What's going on? So I said, look, it's not a joke. You're not on TV. You might know me. I'm Des O'Connor. You might have seen me on TV. I've run out of petrol. I'm just trying to, can you please let me have a bit of petrol? Hang on. Torch came out. I nearly sang. And next thing I know, I'm in the house. The family have come down. We're having breakfast, bacon and eggs. Bacon is 3 o'clock in the morning. Petrol, And he even said, "Oh, it's on the house." I said, "No, it's not on the house. The petrol." And so, how lucky can you have a job where that would bring those kind of perks as well with it, apart from the warmth and friendship? I had a policeman once who where was it? It was in Los Angeles, and because they'd seen me on American TV, and he pulled me over, and it flicked the gun out of the holster. And it's terrifying when you see that in America coming towards you, and because I'd taken the wrong turning or something, one of the it's all weird, the traffic signs, and then suddenly he spotted me. And 5 years later, I was still getting Christmas cards from this guy. 6 years later, suddenly it stopped. I don't know why, but it did. But it's marvellous, this job. And I love it, and I do. We're back to the best 2 hours of any day for me is getting on a stage, because I don't ever worry about anyone. There were times when I used to be physically ill in the afternoon, thinking about having to perform in the evening. That's right at the beginning of your career. But then comes a point where you think, hey, I can do this. Not only I can do it, I'm looking forward to it. Not only can I'm looking forward to it, but it'll be different tonight, and I'm just as excited as they are. So it's I'm doing the right job. For me.
And nobody can catch you out, really. Nothing could go wrong, could it? If the lights went out, you'd still carry on.
It happened to me at London Palladium. Lena Horne was top of the bill. And suddenly, I remember Arthur Worsley. I'd come off, and Arthur Worsley was on trying to do his act. He was a ventriloquist, Arthur, with his little dummy. And suddenly, what's going on? I could over the tannoy, I could hear that sounds very strange. So I went down to the side, and he said, "Oh, he's in problem. We've got trouble with the mic." And suddenly, everything went black. And he said, quick, get out there. And give me a torch. And I'm saying to him, right, I said, they're looking for a shilling for the meter. I don't know, all nonsense. And he had to go, he'd have got a hernia trying to talk through a dummy with no microphone. so he left and he went. And I'm on there, and Lena Horne went. I think I did an hour and 30. We were the only show in the West End. The whole of the West End had gone on a power cut that stayed open, and Leslie McDonnell sent me a crate of champagne at the end of that. And there was one joke I remember doing, which I would never have done in today's PC world. But I remember I said, I would bring Lena Horne out now, but you're having trouble seeing me? But I mean, those days, and she was wonderful. She'd laughed her socks off. So a lot of this PC drives me crackers, because whilst I've never been someone that swears on the stage and does crudities, I still think they're the odd cheeky thing. The best Irish jokes I've heard are told by Irish people, and Jewish people laugh at Jewish jokes. I think maybe we're all taking ourselves just a little too seriously.
And of course, talking of humour and jokes, you yourself have been teased over the years, especially by people like Morecambe and Wise. Did that ever bother you?
And I used to send my own insults to them. I used to write them. No, honestly, I did. People would think, they would come to me and say, did you hear what he said about it? And I thought, I can't tell you. I sent him that joke. And I used to say, like, Des O'Connor's got a one-man show. Let's hope two turn up next time. And, he's become a limited company. So he should. He's a limited performer. And I used to send these jokes to them, and then they would do them on the screen. But when other comics... is what you were just saying. When other comics started to insult us, it wasn't that funny. It wasn't funny to the public, and I didn't warm to them. I never minded what Eric said about me, because we just got on well, and we were chipping each other and having a laugh and having fun together. But I never went back on TV, and you don't do that. Not that I wanted to. I just was enjoying it. Looking back now, I think it probably did me one of the biggest favours ever.
And when was your big break then? When was the moment that you realised, I think I'm going to make it?
I don't know whether it was... I knew from day one. I used to fib to my mum and dad. I lived in Northampton. We were in Northampton. I used to say, I've got a royal show. Oh, have you? When's that? 3 years' time. They didn't know, Mum and Dad. It's a long time. I said, yeah, but, they have to book these things. And then I'd say, I've got a TV series. Wow, Dad, come in. Harry, come in. He's got a TV series. Tell your dad. So I've got, when's that, son? Year after next. And then I'd have to make those lies come true. So they weren't lies. They were reality. They were just stretched a bit. So I think I've always believed enough in myself to say, well, one day, but I don't rush and just get a little bit better. There have been disappointments along the way. I thought I was going to get Sunday night at London Palladium, and I didn't get it. But, it's disappointment I kind of used as a stepping stone to something else, and to build that thing inside you that says, come on, you can do this,
There aren't many stars who make it in America, and you're one of the few who were successful. A lot of people go over there and try. They might be on TV for a few weeks, but they're pulled. I noticed on David Letterman, he mentions you at least once every couple of months still, and you haven't been on for a while. It's fascinating the impact you made over there. Yeah,
well, I was fortunate because it was a two-pronged thing. I went there to do as an entertainer, and I did that because they'd seen me at the London Palladium. Then while I was out there doing the interviews for the show, which went all around the world, it went to 44 countries in the world, that show. Lord Lou Grade now. He could have sold ice lollies to the Eskimos, and he was selling all these shows all around the world. So I did that. And then when I was doing the promotion for that, we were getting lots of laughs. And my people, like Cyril Berlin and my press agent at that time, said to me, why are you that funny at home? You're not that funny at home. Why is it you're funny? I said, well, there's no script and there's not a clock I've got to keep my eyes on, because to do 4 minutes of humour, you can't be creative while you're watching a clock and trying to remember the jokes you're going to do. But just to be able to relax like we're doing now, not a word of this rehearsed, I promise you, folks, just do it and say it, whatever. That was funny. So when I came back, I wanted to do the talk show. And on that first series was David Letterman, Jay Leno, Gary Shandling and Jerry Seinfeld, all on who now have bought America. But, so somewhere along the line, and I think it's something they say, humour doesn't travel. I think somewhere along the line, it's not a case it doesn't travel. Maybe the choice of it is not correct, or the actual words. Pavement becomes sidewalk, and chemist becomes pharmacy, and things like. You just got to do your homework before you go and speak a little slower and sound just a little bit more English. And the Americans, my God, I love that guy. I think he's great. So,
why you, though? Why do you think you were the one that was picked and went over there and made such a big success of it? What was the reason?
It all had happened about the time at the Palladium. My agent, Cyril Berlin, he said, we've got this boy at the Palladium. You should see him. He's really, really good. So this is my agent doing the selling job for me. So Lou Gray went into the Palladium, saw me, and it was packed. It was supposed to be for 8 weeks. It ran for 44, and it was packed every night. And so what he had formed in his head, because he'd sold Tom Jones there and Humperdinck, that they were going to sell an entertainer. So he got the Kraft Music Hall people and the agency, which is J. Walter Thompson, to come and see me there, and they liked it. They said, "Yeah, well, will the rest of America like him?" Because America's, it's the North doesn't necessarily like the South, and anyway, they were. Lou Gray then got 40 to 60 people a night coming in on freebies to see the show, American tourists, and providing they filled out a form saying did they like or understand that guy up there. Fortunately, all this stuff he got in was very positive. They gave me the show. And then when I went over there, because at that stage I'd still been on television a long time in this country, and so I wasn't a kid that didn't know what to do. They liked it, the Americans. It was simple. It wasn't slick and sharp and cute, my God, and all. It was, it was very relaxed and honest. And that's the DVD that I'm bringing up. That's the series that the Americans just absolutely loved out there. We've got a lot of British stars on there. And Liberace. I don't know how you got on that first series, but you did. So all in all, I've been in the right place at the right time and got the right results. So there is a degree of luck, but there's also a degree of knowing what you're doing.
All right, we're going to come back next. We'll take another piece of music. And then in our remaining moments, we'll talk about what it's like to be a sex symbol and who are your favourite stars. We're back on your favourite local radio station. It's Alex talking to Des, and that's a good thing about you. You only need to say your first name and everybody knows who you are.
Yeah, well, my mum was very cute, you see. She didn't call me Elvis, but that was a good example. But I think when they just do say your first name, there's a kind of a warmth about it. Yeah, I get called Dezo in Australia. Hello, Dezo, how you doing, mate? Well, I'd say at least it's half my name, Des O'Connor.
And of course, we were talking earlier about you being a funny man. And of course, the ladies, everybody loves you. The ladies just think you're delicious. Can you laugh women into bed?
Can I personally, or can it be used? What are you asking, young Belfield? I once said to Les Dawson, because he was the very first interviewee on Des O'Connor Tonight, and I said to Les Dawson, I said, now, I have this theory, and it was a similar question to what you just put to me, that humour is a kind of an aphrodisiac, and that, it can work with the ladies. And I wonder what he was going to do. He said, well, let me put it this way. He said, I've only ever had one woman outside of marriage. She was a suffragette, and she was chained to the railings at the time. But that was Les. So I certainly think that humour, I won't go so far as to say that it does all the things you say it might, but it certainly helps. If you can make people laugh at whatever level, whether it's a guy, a gal, a boss, a kid, whatever, it's a gift. So, I'm fortunate.
And of course, comedians are so related to you because you were so passionate about getting them on the telly. And even in the Des and Mel days, you made it your thing to get people like Joe Pasquale on, which was so nice because they just didn't have a place on TV after about 1980, did they?
You're very observant, young man. And what the big thrill I got from doing Des O'Connor Tonight, when people say to me, because we did have the biggest guests in the world, there were an unbelievable lineup of guests. You name someone, they did it. But when they say, who was your favourite? Because I still say my best times as host of that show were playing host and giving a platform or a spotlight for the comedians. All the big ones we know, the Doddies of the world and the Normal Wisdom, the English ones, the Americans ones, which we've discussed, Bob Hope, Jack Bennett, everybody. But what I really liked was providing the platform for the young, up-and-coming guys. And I can name about 20, I'm not going to, but 20 who made their first mainstream appearance with us. Ben Elton and Frank Skinner and Joe Pasquale, Bradley Walsh, Lily Savage, well, that's Paul O'Grady. It goes on and on. Jethro, it was a great thrill to find these people and put them up there. I have to say about Jethro that Jim Davison marked my card there. He said, there's a guy down in Cornwall, you can go and see him. Well, I laughed my socks off, except he's a bit blue. And I said, do you have a clean version of this? And then he's just wonderful on TV. If you go and see him live, don't take Granny.
Again, though, it's brave having comedians on because you never know what they're going to say next. And you seem quite selfless with them, that you're happy to set them up for them to take the glory and get the laugh.
We keep going back to Jack Bennett, but he was a giant of his kind. And he said to me, never worry when someone's getting laughs on your show, because people will talk about your show, not that specific laugh. And over the years, I let a lot of people like Jack Douglas, who was a straight man, I used to give him gags and fine gags. And other people, I still do it today. If I'm doing a show, I'll let the MD, if I think of a really fun, I'll let him do it. Ray Monk is my musical director. And I'm basically, I want to be a writer. I'm writing all sorts of things at the moment. And it's a joy in hearing a joke you thought of or a gag that fits something. And then hearing them getting the laugh. And I can get a laugh out of, dare I say anything. We'll have a conversation with the audience, and suddenly we find there's loads of laughs coming. People will say, what'd you do? I said, I don't know. It was a giggle, wasn't it? I'll try and remember it tomorrow, whatever it was. But no, as I say, giving a platform for those comics was probably the thing I'm most proudest of.
Are you a musician? Are you an interviewer? Or are you a comedian? What are you?
I went and did a cruise on the QM2. It's the new ship. I do occasional gala ones on those programs, and they're great. And the Americans, a lot of Americans are go, well, what are you doing? You a comedian, or are you a singer? I said, well, because of a guy called Eric Morecambe, I can answer that by saying it depends where I am. Because if I'm in America, they think I'm a singer who does some humour. But in England, I'm a comedian who now and again sings. But that's been put right. And that's why I'm back to the album again. I'm so proud of that, because even Eric would like that. It's quality. In fact, Joan, his wife, Joan Morecambe, said to me once, and I don't think she mind me sharing this with your listeners. She said, I went into the lounge and he was sitting there with the pipe and his feet up, listening to your album. I said, can you say that on the air? She said, no, I'm not going to say it on the air. She said, it's lovely, isn't it?
And again, if you look at the figures, you've had 37 albums and you've sold something like 17 million of them.
He's 36 and 16 million, but thank you for trying. You're beginning to sound like a PR man. 36 albums. And yeah, looking up there, those three on the end there, those three singles, we're looking, folks, at little discs up here. Those three sold 4.4 million, the singles, I Pretend, which was in the charts forever. And I've got one little story. You see the one on the end with no glass in the front of the case? That's Australia. It was a number one album. When they said, we're going to send it to you, Deso. So they sent it to me, and it had broken. The glass had broken. So my daughter, Samantha, was about 6 or 7 at the time. I said, don't touch that, because we're taking all the glass out. There might be some bits around the edge. Well, then the phone went. I went to get the phone, and she, without me knowing, took it and put it on the player. And out came Joan Sutherland's voice. All the Aussies had done was spray it. Stick a label on it. Send that to Deso. He'll be happy. No, I've never put the glass in it.
There's no greater insult, is there?
No, well, she was a good singer, but sounded like a cat with a hernia if it was me, So I remember when I was asked to go to Las Vegas the first time, Helen Reddy, again Australian singer, said, "Yeah, we're going to have him on the bill as much support. You should do the first 45 minutes of the show. Yeah, I'll have him on the bill." She said, "But I don't want him singing." So we said no. So then Checky Green, an American comedian, wonderful American comedian, he said, "Sure, you can come on the show, but just singing, no jokes." And this was going on. Then I got booked with the Carpenters, and then sadly Karen Carpenter was taken ill. But 2 or 3 years later, I went on there, Nelson Riddle and his orchestra. Oh, that I got to sing I Got You Under My Skin. And Nelson Riddle at the end of it said to me, "Better than the other guy, Des." I said, "Oh, yeah, I know." Mr. Sinatra would be thrilled to hear that. No, it's been a good ride so far. It hasn't finished yet.
And some very, very quick questions. Where's your favourite venue so far?
Well, it has to be the Palladium, because, I've got, again, there's a plaque up there. And I showed you the date on it. It does say 1,000th performance at the London Palladium. 1,000th solo performance, not in a show, solo performance. And that's dated December the 5th, 1972. Must be older than Methuselah. But I've been there so many times. It's a wonderful. It's great to play the MGM Grand in Vegas. It's great to play the Opera House in Sydney, the O'Keefe Centre in Toronto, and I'm big in Kuala Lumpur.
And your life now, of course, is just brilliant. You've got your daughters and your new son, who you're just so proud of, and your house is full of him, isn't it?
Oh yeah, everywhere, every room. We used to have wallpaper. Now we've got little. It's this Adams Academy, Art Academy, and as you can see, there's a set of drums there. There's a piano here, which he's had a piano lesson this morning. He sings fantastic. He dances. His mother's a wonderful singer, Jodie. You often, because I'm not a kid anymore, and you think, I just hope I'm around long enough. But then I look at. To see him grow up and do the things I think he can and possibly will achieve. But I just like to be there to advise him and be a dad. I was playing football with him at the weekend. Literally kicking around. Because they used to say, but they forget my dad lived to be 95 and I've always been an athlete. And happily, I look at when they put my age by my name, I go, that can't be me. That's not me. It's just a number in the passport. It doesn't mean a thing. So all in all, I'm enjoying it and enjoying the challenge of, suddenly, even this year, like June 22nd, I've got a new DVD, I've got a new album, I've got a concert tour coming up. I'm coming your way, folks. Watch out. Bring Granny. I don't swear.
And will you ever get bored of it? Because it seems like you're going to go on forever because you don't need to do it for financial reasons and ego. Well, that's all been sorted by your CV. It is just because you just love it.
Oh, yeah, it's the biggest thrill on earth. I mean, for me, I can't think of anything that I would enjoy more than, and there's a packed house and hearing the buzz of it over the tannoy, and walking out there and knowing they've come to see you. I don't have an announcement. Remember the first time I did it, my agent said, but nobody did an announcement. I said, look, that lot come to see me, and if they don't know it's me, I've got a lot of problems. One of them's just walked in. It's my wife, it's Alex Belfield. I was just telling him you've got an album out.
Yes, I do.
What shall we do? Shall we end with a track from your good lady wife or play one of yours?
Well, she's standing there now, so I've got to say play both.
All right, we'll do that. The last track on the album is called In My Life, and it really seems to sum up your journey through life and show business. It's a very touching song.
Yeah, well, we did most of the tracks, and we suddenly had this thought in my head, and then I think it was Alan who said, you should do something like a My Way, you should do so. I said, it's a bit, I don't want to wave flags and have the people, what a great guy he is. And so, so he came up with this beautiful melody, and we started, and he actually came up with a few lines that he'd written in another song sometime. And I said, well, let me have that, let me go where, and we worked at it together, and we've ended up with this song, and it is... Yeah, it's kind of a reflection of what happened. There's a line in there that says there were times in the words I had to sing, and I was close to tears. And because I don't dwell on those things, they come and they go, and you get on with it, whatever else is happening in your life. But it's an interesting song, and it takes an intelligent man to realise that, Alex.
Thank you very much. And I am. That's the thing. You've realised it. I'm glad you have. And of course, bring back Des and Mel. That's the big thing on the end of this interview.
I'd love that because, well, we just laugh our socks off. I'm moving from the very first moment I met her when she fell down the stairs and then ended up in my arms, literally. I said, well, you have fell for me. That's for starters. We've been around. We have what we call a biannual dinner. Twice a year we go out for dinner. And every time we've been told, can you keep that down? And we will never stop laughing. This is true. I heard someone say... we were laughing so much, and I heard the waiter say, what will you have? And this guy said, I'll have what they're having. It was just like Harry, was it when Harry met Sally, what it was. But I would love that to come back because it was genuinely, honestly, completely, genuinely spontaneous. There was no script. We didn't have a script. You'd have to have lines which was leading in and out of certain things. But and we would kind of get a pattern for an interview. But when the two of us just sat there and waffled, and the papers that came up, some of the things she used to say, we call them Mel's moments, which when it's live, it's gone. And I think the public knew we were laughing, and they didn't mind if it was a little bit cheeky now and again because they knew it had happened. We didn't plan it. It had just slipped out.
Well, it wasn't so much what she said, it was the way you took it.
Well, she used to say things, I won't tell you now, because, as I say, that the public will wear it and laugh with it if they know that it kind of happened. If I did it now, I'm doing it for effect. But she would say things, and I'd look at her, and I couldn't believe she'd act. It's a bit like my wife Jodie actually will say things, and you know, you just start laughing.
Des, thank you very much for talking to me. I really appreciate it, because you are one of the biggest stars ever in the world, and there aren't many of those left. And the fact that you still love it and you're doing it for no other reason, that you just love to do it, is so inspiring. Thank you very much.
I'm very fortunate. Thank you for all those kind compliments. Thanks, Alex.